Welcome to our channel, where we delve deeply into meditation and inner strength from the great masters. We'll explore a profoundly meaningful talk by Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the most renowned monks and meditation teachers in the world. In this video, we will uncover the art of inner peace, the art of achieving inner tranquility amidst the noise and stress of modern life. Thich Nhat Hanh will guide us through simple yet powerful principles for practicing meditation and nurturing stillness within our hearts. With wisdom and compassion, Thich Nhat Hanh inspires us to live mindfully, helping us find peace not only in our minds, but also in our deeper connections with ourselves and those around us. This talk will enlighten you on how to cultivate your spirit, embrace the present moment, and live fully in each experience. If you're seeking inspiration to enrich your spiritual life and discover inner peace, hit that subscribe button and join us. Together, let's explore the art of inner peace through the profound teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh. Thank you for visiting our channel. Get ready for a journey of discovery and growth through the inspiring messages of Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh described the practice of Buddhism as a form of art, the art of peace. He emphasized that this art promotes peace in society and the world. As a Buddhist, he believes that everyone should learn this art, how to live in peace and promote harmony in families, communities, and society. He points out that if people look deeply within themselves, they will recognize that elements of war exist within them. Tension in the body, emotions such as fear, anger, violence, hatred, and despair, along with misconceptions and misunderstandings. He describes these elements as factors of war. The practice of Buddhism begins with recognizing these negative elements within oneself to care for and transform them. When people return to their breath and become aware of their bodies, they may realize that their bodies hold much tension and pressure. Through this awareness, they may feel the need to do something to relieve that stress. Thich Nhat Hanh refers to the sutra on the full awareness of breathing, the Satipatthana Sutta, where the Buddha provided methods to relieve tension in the body. He emphasizes the third and fourth exercises of mindful breathing, with the third exercise being, inhale, I am aware of my whole body, with all its tension. Exhale, I release the tension in my body. With just a few minutes of mindful breathing practice, individuals can alleviate the tension throughout their bodies. He continues to explain that if tension continues to accumulate, it will lead to various problems and illnesses. Modern scientists have recognized that if we can relieve stress in the body can heal itself. Thich Nhat Hanh emphasizes that it does not require many medications. Simply relieving stress allows the body to heal internal ailments. When people can be at peace with their bodies, they can also begin to reconcile with their emotions and feelings. Thich Nhat Hanh acknowledges that people experience painful feelings and strong emotions, but often do not know how to handle them. The Buddha showed how to recognize painful feelings and emotions within ourselves, to embrace them, bring relief, and ultimately transform them. He stresses that the seventh exercise of mindful breathing is to recognize painful feelings and suffering emotions within. The eighth exercise encourages people to exhale, to release tension in their feelings and emotions, learning to recognize, embrace, and transform emotions such as fear, anger, hatred, jealousy, and despair. He asserts that this is the art of reconciling with oneself, caring for the body, and tending to one's feelings and emotions. Thich Nhat Hanh continues to remind us that Buddhist practice also includes recognizing mental formations, including our thoughts. He emphasizes that there are still many misconceptions within each person, and these thoughts lead to erroneous speech and actions, causing conflict both internally and between individuals. Thus, Buddhist practice begins with returning to oneself, recognizing the elements of tension, pain, and inner conflict to restore peace within the body, feelings, and consciousness. He stresses that if parents know how to practice, they will make their children happy and create a happy family life. Children growing up in such families will learn to recognize the difficulties and tensions in their bodies, acknowledge their feelings and emotions, and learn how to cope with them. Practicing parents can also teach their children how to practice peace. Thich Nhat Hanh emphasizes that when children go to school, teachers need to know how to support them. He points out that there are children who do not have the opportunity to learn how to love, share, and contribute to the happiness of others in their families. If teachers practice peace, they can give students a second chance, transforming schools into second families and themselves into parental figures who support their students. He also notes that there are many issues in both families and schools today, with misunderstandings, anger, and violence. Therefore, if parents and teachers know how to practice peace, they will help children and students learn the art of peace. He hopes that those involved in education will reflect on this and strive to bring Buddhist learning and practice into family and school life. Throughout 30 years of teaching in the West, he has shared this practice with friends in many countries. Countless people have benefited from these practices, reconciling with their parents, children, and partners, bringing happiness to them. He also shares about the practice of listening with compassion and using loving speech to restore communication. Thich Nhat Hanh observes that although there are many sophisticated means of communication today, communication between spouses, parents and children, and mothers and daughters has become much more difficult. He has witnessed many fathers who cannot talk to their sons, and many sons and daughters who cannot listen to their parents. He questions how, without communication, we can hope to help each other eliminate misconceptions and reconcile. At Plum Village, he has invited groups of Palestinians and Israelis to practice together over the years, from whom he has learned a great deal. These groups, upon arrival, could not look at each other due to the immense suffering, fear, anger, and distrust within each group. The community at Plum Village has helped them practice, starting by releasing tension in their bodies, practicing breathing, walking meditation, and sitting in mindful meditation to recognize their pain, sorrow, fear, and emotions within, to bring relief, practicing the deep relaxation that the Buddha taught. Practicing emotional recognition, following the Buddha's guidance, has greatly benefited these two groups. After the first week of releasing tension and recognizing painful emotions, they were guided to practice deep listening and use loving speech. When suffering, they wanted others to know about their pain. If they knew how to use a type of language that doesn't blame or accuse, what in Buddhism is called loving speech, they could share their suffering, difficulties, and deep wishes. As listeners, they could practice breathing in and out to calm themselves, remembering that listening to others is an act of compassion. Thich Nhat Hanh affirmed that if they knew how to listen deeply with compassion, within just 1 hour, they could significantly reduce the suffering of the other person. In Mahayana Buddhism, there is Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, who is highly skilled in listening with compassion. Thich Nhat Hanh emphasized that if we learn the art of compassionate listening for just a few days, people could listen to others or groups with compassion. He believed that listening in such a way for 1 or 2 hours could bring great relief to the other person, as they may never have had the opportunity to be heard. At that moment, the practitioner becomes a bodhisattva of compassion, listening attentively and lovingly. He cited examples of groups from Palestine and Israel, where Israelis would sit quietly and listen, while the Plum Village Sangha supported them in practicing deep listening. After an hour of listening, the situation had changed, and people realized that the other side had also endured similar suffering. Adults, children, everyone experienced the same hardships. Through such listening, everyone's suffering was alleviated. Finally, after 10 days of practice, the two groups were able to hold hands, practice walking meditation, and share a meal together in brotherhood. The practice of the Israeli and Palestinian groups at Plum Village was always successful, and at the end of the practice period, they reported back to the Mahayana Sangha. They promised that upon returning, they would establish a Sangha, a practice center, where both Israelis and Palestinians could come together to practice and alleviate suffering. He emphasized that to have right action and right speech, one must have right intention, which is the will of interdependent origination. This will is the view of non-self and interbeing. Practitioners must always remember to keep this will alive in their daily lives. When looking and listening, they must touch the wisdom of interdependent origination, inner being, and non-self. For example, when speaking about father and son, he pointed out that through deep meditation, the son can see his father in every cell of his body. The father is not just outside, but also exists within the son. Similarly, the father can see himself in his son. If the son suffers, the father will also feel pain, as a child cannot truly be happy if their father is deeply suffering. This shows that suffering is not an individual matter or a separate issue. It is shared between father and son. Thich Nhat Hanh affirmed that everything is interconnected, and the well-being of animals is also essential for human well-being. Protecting the environment and other living beings on Earth is, in fact, protecting humanity. He emphasized that this insight is not only for Buddhists, but also for non-Buddhists. However, sometimes Buddhists may forget that they are monks, continuing to struggle for power and prestige instead of living in peace and promoting harmony within their monastic community. Thich Nhat Hanh highlighted that many of us do not truly practice as monastics, even after receiving the 5 precepts and practicing mindfulness. He pointed out that we are often too busy and do not know how to apply these teachings in our daily lives. In March 2000, UNESCO released the Manifesto 2000 with 6 points for practicing peace. He noted that the United Nations had decided to make the first decade of this century the decade of a culture of peace and nonviolence, and many people had worked to promote this culture. Thich Nhat Hanh had the opportunity to sit with a group of Nobel Peace Prize laureates to draft the Manifesto 2000, and it was signed by 75 million people, including many heads of state and prime ministers. He believed that the 6 points in the manifesto were very similar to the 5 precepts proposed by the Buddha. If people practiced according to the 6 points of the manifesto or the 5 precepts, there would surely be peace within oneself and in the world. However, he observed that after signing the manifesto, many people did not have the opportunity to practice and apply these points in their daily lives, which was a shortcoming. Thich Nhat Hanh emphasizes that in the Buddhist tradition, after accepting the 5 precepts, individuals are encouraged to recite them every 2 weeks and participate in Dharma discussions to learn how to better apply these teachings in their lives. He asserts that we have a path to follow, but we often fail to realize how to effectively walk it. Therefore, he suggests organizing into communities where families, classrooms, workplaces, and even city councils can become sanghas. He mentions the first precept, which is to protect life, not only human life, but also the lives of animals, plants, and minerals. This relates to deep ecological practice and environmental protection. He points out that for humans to be safe and healthy, it is necessary to protect other living beings. To fully practice the first precept, one must learn about the 5th precept, which involves mindful consumption. Thich Nhat Hanh warns that overexploiting the Earth's resources will cause significant harm. He emphasizes that when children watch violent, sad, and frightening content, they absorb toxins into their bodies and minds. He believes that mindful consumption, avoiding the production and consumption of products that cause suffering, is an excellent way to protect oneself and the community. He affirms that even this precept alone can bring about peace, and legislators need to work to ban the production of harmful products. Thich Nhat Hanh also calls for the participation of business and political leaders to practice mindful consumption for the health of body and mind. He points out that the second mindful precept calls for not exploiting people and the planet, emphasizing that we need to think rightly, according to the insights of inner being and non-self, protecting and forgiving one another. Thich Nhat Hanh has emphasized that thoughts of compassion and right thinking positively impact the health of the world and the planet. He believes that as Buddhists, we have the capacity to generate many such thoughts each day. In the realm of right thinking, we should only create thoughts of understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. When we practice this, our speech will become right speech, promoting understanding, hope, and brotherhood, and our actions will become right actions. He observes that right perspective is the foundation for all actions. Although we have spoken much about peace, we have not done enough for the cause of peace. Every action, word, and thought can be seen as a gift to the Buddha. Thich Nhat Hanh emphasizes that we can offer this gift every day, expressing gratitude toward him. At the monastery in Deer Park, California, he mentioned that they have stopped using city electricity and now rely solely on solar energy. Hundreds of people live off this energy, and their transportation runs on vegetable oil. Along with lay practitioners, they practice car-free days. By refraining from using cars for a day, they contribute to reducing air pollution, which they see as a gift to the Buddha. To date, they have dedicated 60,000 car-free days to the Buddha, and he encourages everyone to commit to not using a car for one day each week. September 27th is emphasized as Global Car-Free Day, with the hope of achieving 100,000 car-free days. Thich Nhat Hanh underscores the importance of expressing love for the planet. Using less electricity and gasoline is also a way to show that love. He warns that there is not enough gasoline for everyone, especially in densely populated countries like India and China. This awareness, he believes, is enlightenment and right thinking. Thus, living simply and consuming less is the only way out. In monasteries in Europe and the US, Thich Nhat Hanh states that none of them have private cars, laptops, or personal bank accounts. They live happily together as a sangha, proving that happiness is achievable when nurtured by brotherhood and compassion. He points out that many people believe happiness requires wealth and power, but reality shows that those with power and money can still suffer. Thich Nhat Hanh has witnessed people living simply yet happily, without needing much material wealth. He affirms that living a simple and happy life is possible, and it is the Buddha's teaching that needs to be practiced, minimizing consumption and learning to live more simply in order to have more time to care for oneself and loved ones. This is also a practice of peace and a pathway to a fulfilling life. Thich Nhat Hanh shared that it is wonderful for people to come together as a spiritual family to honor the Buddha. He emphasizes that to show kindness to the Buddha, individuals should commit to living in a way that allows them enough time to care for themselves and love those around them. To achieve this, they need to refrain from spending all their time chasing after success, whether it be wealth, power, or fame. He believes that happiness is attainable. When people return to the present moment through mindful breathing, they will recognize the life and wonders that exist around them. Simply sitting quietly, relaxing, and connecting with those wonders can bring immediate happiness. The Buddha elevated the teaching of living happily in the present moment. Thich Nhat Hanh recounted a business leader named Anathapindika, who deeply cherished the Buddha and learned much from him. Anathapindika sought to bring the Buddha's practices into his family, creating a happy household. One day, he brought 500 entrepreneurs to meet the Buddha, and he taught them a lesson about living happily in the present moment. The Buddha emphasized that entrepreneurs often think too much about the future and forget to care for themselves and their families. He wanted to remind them that the conditions for happiness are already available in the present. If they know how to practice mindful breathing and return to the present, they will realize that they have enough conditions to be happy right here and now. Caring for the present moment is also caring for the future, as the future is made up of present moments. He stresses that if people invest 100% of themselves in taking care of the present moment, doing what is necessary and avoiding what is harmful, they are doing the best to ensure a bright future. While it is right to plan for the future, they should not worry or fear it too much. They can re-establish themselves in the present and bring the future into the present to understand it better. Thich Nhat Hanh emphasizes that the message to convey to friends, both Buddhists and non-Buddhists, is to live happily in the present moment. He invites everyone to take a minute or two to recognize that happiness is available without chasing after the future. It is wonderful to be together as a spiritual family, enjoying connection. He encourages everyone to inhale, feel the lightness, and exhale, feeling the freedom. He feels the presence of the Buddha in every cell of his body and promises to be a beautiful continuation of him. Each step will bring serenity, freedom, and peace. As he breathes, he will bring peace and tranquility into his body and mind. When he speaks, he will use words of compassion and nurture kindness to help others alleviate suffering. Thich Nhat Hanh commits to restoring communication within himself and among family members and the community to promote peace in society.